everybody. We're going to do a little hiking here. We're going to go back in on this first trail. It's back into the primitive campsites. It's a little hike back in there. It looks like pretty much all of them are reserved for this weekend. There's 13 sites and they got them listed as A through M, so you'll know where your site is. I believe it's about a mile, 1.2 miles is the whole journey of this trail that goes back through here. So depending on what site you have is how far you're going to have to walk to get there. Everything you carry in, please carry back out so we keep our parks looking good. And I always like it if you're happen to walk one of the trails and you see where possibly somebody might have dropped a piece of paper or some trash or something, go ahead and just pick it up and carry it out. That way, we keep the park looking good for the next people that come in here to walk the trail. So we're going to walk back through here and kind of give you an idea of the terrain, what you'll be walking on, how far back in here. Who knows, maybe if we're lucky, we might see some of the wildlife back in here. So let's go ahead and go on this journey. Like I say, you'll see different sites, and the R's down there means that they're reserved. Either that, it'll be flipped over to have an A stand out there, meaning that it's available. We are right here, and we're going to be taking that little trail that's marked yellow there. It's called Beaver Slide Nature Path, and it's actually 1.3 miles back in there. And of course, right there where the P is, kind of down there on that one side, that's where the primitive area campsites are going to be. And of course, back here on this trail, it's only pedestrian hiking. No bikes are allowed back in there. Let's go ahead and start our journey down through here. Little breeze blowing today. Shade makes it a little cool, but not bad. This is kind of unique, and from what I understand about trees that have like this extra growth or a knot on it, they say at one point when the tree was grown, it had some stress on it. So I don't know if they're meaning maybe something was kind of laying on it to keep it from growing, or exactly what they mean by stress, but it's kind of unique. You don't see that every day in a tree. But yeah, it's like a big just knot or overgrowth around the tree. Pretty cool. Even being in December, there's still a lot of green in this park. Some areas are a little thicker than others where you can't see through. A little path has been made down through there. Of course, I don't know you do any good fishing here. I know my grandson tried. He thought this was a good fishing spot. The only thing he caught was a couple crawdads, I believe.
Yeah.
Actually, he was the only one that caught anything that weekend.
Yeah, the fish too.
Yeah. A little crappie. Yeah, a little earlier, when we walked down on the other side, it was about over in there somewhere where that path come through, or that other way to get down to the water on that side. Of course, not much fishing right there at this point, but I'm sure when it rains and that all fills back up in there, there'll be some fish to be caught. A lot of algae growing in there right now because it's so low. Now imagine when that lake fills up, you can probably do some fishing right through here. Actually, right over there is where that spot was, there wasn't it? Where that path came down on that side, right there in that little cove. Kind of right straight through there. I don't know if you can see the other side, but that's where we were standing a little bit ago over there. But if you go off to the left, more down this way, there's a lot of area right down over there where you can do some fishing. I hear people. coming up on the split here. They do have a little outhouse back here in the back where they maintain. There's no water source, but they do keep it clean. Got a little bench here. You can take a break and kind of sit down. They say this is a good place to kind of sit and listen to nature. Sometimes you see some wildlife through here, but if you go across the bridge here to the right, that's where the primitive campsites will start, A through M. But if your site's up there around J, K, L, or M, I would say take that path because you'll get to it quicker. It's a shorter distance going to the higher letter campsites. If you're going A, B, C, D, then yeah, go across the bridge. We're going to go this way. We're going to take the back way around. But it'll just loop back around and come right back at this spot. Now, if you do come down during the day, or probably even during the night to use this restroom, you might want to bring a little flashlight or a light with you to be able to see on the inside when you close the door, because it does not have any lights in there. There is a solar light up here that will kick on during the night, but nothing on the inside. They say if you come up here in this area in the evening time before dark, sometimes you'll see a beaver up here. That's why they call it the Beaver Loop, because there are beaver over in here. But probably won't see much wildlife over on this trail. Being this weekend, a lot of people here coming in and out. I think the best time to come if you want to see wildlife would be during the week when there's not very many people here. But, I mean, that is the first group of people that we've seen since we came on the trail. And there was many of them. Oh, check it. Is that a bald eagle? I mean, that's a big wingspan. That had to be at least 6 foot. Because I heard it take off, and I was like, what the hell? And I looked up, and I just seen it go behind trees. I couldn't get a good look at it because it disappeared behind trees real quick. But there are bald eagles here. And they say fall time, winter time is the best time to see those here. And I know there's owls here, but they're somewhat quiet during the day. But you can hear them during the night. We've come across deer and armadillos. One thing I haven't seen is any squirrels here at the other parks that we've been to. We've seen number of squirrels. have no idea what's back in there, but it's a no access to anyone other than people that work here at the park. We'll hear occasional jet fly overhead. So this is in a jet path area going towards Dallas, Fort Worth. I don't imagine that tree's going to stand too much longer before it falls over. It's on a pretty good slope. There's a lot of dead trees around here. It'd be kind of awesome to be out here and hear one of them snap and fall. Yeah. Or crashing. And everybody say, well, what was that? I don't know, it must have been Bigfoot knocking over another tree. Pretty open clearing back in there. Well, a couple more people coming. So there is a few back here on the trail. But I believe most of the cars that were parked back there at the entry are ones that are already here setting up their campsites.
How y'all doing?
Pretty good. How y'all doing today?
Good.
Enjoying this weather while it lasts?
Oh yeah, definitely. How's it going?
You too. That one kind of come uprooted. Definitely is a little hike back in here, backpacking your camping gear. But some of these sites back here are awesome. Got a lot of privacy to them. I know there's 4 that I would recommend. and I'll get to that here in just a little bit. I'm not sure what kind of berry tree this is. It's got like a little red berry on it. If you know what kind of tree this is, please leave a comment. Let us know. Long time ago, I used to know many of the different trees and plants, but that was a while back, and I done forgot most of that, so I'm going to have to, you know, kind of brush up on information again. Like butterfly right there. See if I can zoom in on him.
What is it?
There's a butterfly hiding right down in there. I seen him moving, spotting his wings. He's not moving right now. To where you can see him, he's kind of hiding down in there. Now there he is. There he goes. He's moving around pretty quick though. We ought to be getting pretty close to Site M in the primitive, which I think we're coming up on it right now. Now, seeing how that they're showing all these sites to be reserved or occupied, we're not going to go down in them. I don't want to go into somebody's camp. But this one here is Site M, and this is one that I would recommend because it's well hidden down there. It goes back down in, and it does have some level ground for setting up your tent. It's got a fire ring with a grill. You are right on the water where you can do some fishing. And if you're in the state parks of Texas, you do not have to have a fishing license as long as you're in the park. So that's one benefit to go and do a little bit of camping out or staying at a state park. But M is a very secluded, nice site down there. There's probably room for 2, maybe 3 tents down in there. And there is a little bit of space in between each campsite, so it's not like you can look through the trees and see the next campsite, except for very few of them, because you know, everything's kind of died off for the winter. But I'm sure when springtime comes and everything starts growing and leaves start budding on the bushes, it'll thicken up where You know, you're not going to be able to see through again. But side M, it doesn't matter. Any time of year, it's secluded down in there. You'd have to walk down in there even though anybody's in that campsite unless they can hear you. Wow. Now we are at site L, which, you know, it's somewhat secluded down in there. I don't think anybody's in this one yet. Let's walk down in here and kind of give you a little glimpse of what it looks like. This is another one that I'd highly recommend that you would get to set up camp. A lot of cardinals down in here. So I'll let you know how close you are to the lake. There is a spot where you can fish from the bank. And it's got several decent places for like putting a tent. You can get 1 or 2 tents there. Probably one over here on this side. But you got a fire ring. And like I say, you're pretty down in here to where you're somewhat hidden. Got a couple tree stumps laying here to sit on. We've got turtles out there on the water. Out there on some of the dead trees or stumps. But, you know, that's the only disadvantage I see here on fishing, is you got a lot of things out here in the water, stumps and logs, and to get your line tangled on. But I mean, if you kind of pick and choose where you cast, and maybe put a bobber on it to where it doesn't sink to the bottom, you'd probably be all right where you don't snag on anything. But it's definitely peaceful and quiet out here. Of course, you'd be like that guy over there if you have like a canoe or boat. You come out here and just drop your line over the edge of the boat and fish. Don't have to worry about getting tangled on anything. There's another one out there fishing. But yeah, I would recommend this site here also. Now they do say it's prohibited to cut or burn any of the wood that are in the parks. But I'm probably pretty sure people do, because there are a lot of dead branches laying around, which I would think they'd be happy to have some of that cleaned up. But I guess they want it for the nature, or to give it that kind of a forced type of look. But like I say, there's all kinds of dead wood, trees that have fallen over. Some of it's been cut to get it out of the path. But they say not to burn it. So we won't. Big one here that's fallen over. Of course, there's more on this side. This is Site K, I believe. Some of these sites are not quite as big as others. I mean, they still all have the fire ring and a place to camp. Some of them are on a little bit of a slope. So if you're setting up a tent, you know, you might have a little bit of slope to it, but I mean, they're all pretty accessible, but like I say, there's only 4 of them that my choice would be, you know, go-tos, which was L&M, which we were just at. And then there's 2 more on down the path here, which were pretty decent as well. And one of them we stayed in. We spent a weekend here, and it was pretty decent. Of course, before you set up your tent, check around and make sure you're not setting up in an ant bed somewhere. I guess if you don't mind going a long way around and you're pulling a wagon with a lot of your gear, it'd be better coming in this backside because it's pretty decent. As we're coming in the other side off the bridge, you are going to run into a couple obstacles, which we will show you that when we get to them. But this is another site. This is where we stayed. F, which is kind of hidden down in there. You go back in, down around the curve, and yeah, I would stay there again. That was a pretty good site. So definitely recommend F if it's available. Yeah, it must have been F and G, because it wasn't this one. Yeah, it's on a lot of slope down there, so, you know, I'd want something a little bit more flat for my tents. Not to mention it's real close to D, but I mean, D has good access to the water. I mean, it's pretty clear where you can cast out there a little ways, so this would be a good fishing spot if that's what you were coming here to do, is fish. But to set up a tent, you are going to be on a little bit of a slope. But it's a wide open area to do some fishing right there. It's a good spot. Smaller spot, but I mean, you could put a tent right there, which is probably decent. But that's about all you get up in here is one tent. That would be on somewhat of a flat area. So, But during the week, and if you're here camping, you're all going to hear people walking the trails during the day. But in the evening time, not so much. It's just going to be the people back in here and camping. And they're not going to be on the trail much other than to maybe have to make a couple trips bringing their camping gear in, unless they got enough people to do it, to make one trip. But this site here is C, and it is a big site. It's got some decent area to set up. No privacy, but nice area, good fishing area. But if I had my choice, it would still be F, G, L, and M would be my go-to sites. And then of course you got site A, which someone's already in it, but it's a pretty decent site. No privacy, but it's wide open. And then of course now you're going to start getting into the obstacles on this end of the trail coming in. So if you don't mind fighting the obstacles when you're pulling your wagon in or bringing your gear in, you know, you can come this way, or you can take the long way around, which there aren't hardly any obstacles. I could probably do a little fishing right in there too. Been a little cove, might be some good fishing there. Maybe some channel cats. Well, that's pretty much all the primitive campsites that are back in here. A little bit about them. Lake's low, not much water back up in this little area until we start getting some rain again. And we're just about back out here at the split where we started in this loop. Back out here where the outhouse is, and the bridge and the bench. So I'm going to kind of stop this recording on this one here, because you've pretty much seen the trail coming in. I haven't seen no wildlife other than birds. So let's go check out another one.